How's everybody doing today? Let's get it. Let a few people roll in. Let's see. Checking me out. Says I have excellent connection, so we'll see. You see the thumbnail. I taught for 10 years. We'll get into that. I taught at a couple community college, one non-profit college. So we're gonna touch on all of that and just kind of touch on the educational process. I was on a ton of interviews this month. I won't say a ton, but on each of them, we kind of talked a little bit about education and the tech downturn. So I was like, I'll come on my channel and we'll chop it up. What's up, Wayne? Checking in from Mexico. I need to come on down there. I'm still working. I don't know if that's good or bad. Hopefully, usually if I'm working at 3 a.m. PB, I got a problem. I got a production problem, man. A lot of times I'm working at 3 a.m. because I'm old and I can't sleep. But so hopefully you get that handle, PB. So y'all know how we do it. We just gonna chop it up and if you got any IT questions or security questions, just dropping them in the box, man. I'm thinking about coming to Mexico, Wayne. I think I'm gonna give me one of those resorts, man, and go down there and chill. What's the temperature in Mexico right now, Wayne? I need to get on down there. Let's see. See, I got my little notes. So we're gonna chop it up. So yeah. Man. 55. Shit, I'm in Indiana. It's warm right now. It's actually 58, but it was about 22 a couple days ago. So we're gonna start off with the why people file in, just the tech downturn before we get into education. Reason a lot of people get into education was why to make money and be able to withstand recessions and downturns, right? So we're gonna start with that, then we're gonna get into it. I think I had one quick article just kind of talking about it. Before we get into education, we'll talk about the downturn. So this was the top 10 tech layoffs in 2022. So many people been talking about it, but let's speak out. I was tripping. Lyft laid off 683. The ride-hailing company left early November, announced this layoff for 683. That was 13% of its workforce. It tried to reduce operating expenses. The company describes the cuts as proactive to ensure it's set up to accelerate execution and deliver strong business in Q4 2022 or 2023, right? So, once again, I've been in this game a long time, right? And recessions and layoffs is really just part of it, right? I was on Black Heights show and we kind of actually chopped it up about that. So what does that mean is tech companies are they're gonna overhire, then they're gonna release you, right? Then once again hit these couple tech companies are layoffs, then we'll just start breaking down education, right? Because for the education is the cure. So if you get laid off, you can bounce back quickly, or if your skills are highly sought after, right, you won't be laid off. So Salesforce laid off 1,000. The enterprise software maker also in November confirmed it laid off hundreds of its employees. The company did not disclose the exact figure. A report quoting source figures said around 1,000 employees. So at the end, wow, their headcount is still 73,000 people. I guess I didn't know Salesforce was that big, right? So once again, Microsoft laid off 1,000. That's less than 1%. So everybody's just kind of balancing their workforce, trying to reduce their costs, right? Because things are slowing down, and inflation is slowing down, and I think just business in general is slowing down. Right? I think it boomed after the pandemic real quick, but now it's slowing down. I appreciate that, Gabe. Shout out to Struggle Security. Go check his channel out. He definitely I always put him in the red team category. Shopify laid off 1,000. That was 10% their workforce. They got 10,000. Coinbase, we know crypto been getting a rough time. 1100 laid off 14% of its workforce. 1120 of 80, which was 20% of its workforce. Buys you, I don't know, Indian ed tech giant, they let off 2,500. I gotta figure out why I can't see Gabe on my on my reach. I don't know if Restream hating on Gabe. Shout out to Gabe, $10 on the barbecue this Sunday. So shout out to Gabe for the barbecue. He just had a baby. I'll start uploading again in a few. Congratulations, man. What did you have? Gonna have to shout out to Gabe for. Whoa, I'm gonna pray for you, Gabe, man. My kids got kids. So he buys you laid out 2,500. Twitter, shout out to Elon Musk. He laid out 3,000. Shortly closing with $44 billion purchase, which is normal. He laid out 50% of their workforce. Of course, Meta, the grand giant, they laid off 11,000 people in one fell swoop, which was 13% of their workforce. So company's got over 100,000 employees. I know Meta's got a huge. Oh, congratulations on the baby girl for Gabe A. Struggle Security. Hopefully she's sleeping well and y'all sleeping well. So, so those are the big layoffs. And once again, I was on Black Heist channel, and the thought pattern about that, and that's one reason I decided to talk about education today is you want to get your skills set up. So you can have the skills so you don't have to worry about getting laid off, or you're a highly sought after resource. Right. In the end, I've done 3 or 4 TikTok videos where people laid off, and at the top it says, don't get in your feelings, right? You are a resource. So I mean, I know you go to the Christmas party. I know people really like y'all go out to lunch, but I've seen, and I'm sure Gabe's seen, where they say you need to cut 10% of your staff. So you got to pick that, right? So some of it's going to be friendship. A lot of it's going to be a resource, and what can you do for the company? And sometimes their manager's going to be like, we want to keep these 3 people, and you only got like 5 people left, right, to come up with this 10 or 15%. So where do you rank at on your team, and where do you rank in the company? I talked to a recruiter from Org today, and they said they're anticipating things to be tied until next March. Oh, yeah. Shout out to Gabe. Yeah, I'm thinking really next summer, man. I think it's just going to really get tight down. Because I think what happens is in a recession, what happens is people over tight down and nobody spends. So that makes the recession keep tumbling down. So it's going to be interesting. I was on a team. I was surprised this young guy got laid off on the team I'm on. So I was super confused for a minute. So, like I said, it's tight out here, and just make sure you keep your skills up. Make sure you have a backup plan. Make sure you have your network. Everybody's on LinkedIn, connecting to people. Certain people have access to job boards and know what's happening, because companies are usually hiring just for super specific skills and super specific talent. You just got to make sure you have those skills and that talent. And a lot of times you got to be in the know, right? I think a lot of people panic, right? And they make things kind of worse. So you just got to keep your network up and keep reaching out to people, right? So, like I said, I was on me and Black Heist chopped it up, me and B2B chopped it up. I was on Coach. He's a guy helps athletes, and one of his tenets is trying to get athletes into tech, because the favorite thing is Father Time is undefeated. So either you're gonna play and get old, or most people don't even make it to the pros or overseas. A friend of mine paid in Finland for a decade, so he made good money in Finland. So, but most people can't do that. It's a super small amount. So, what are you going to do with your scholarship? I've seen a lot of guys, I believe, waste scholarships. I walked onto the track team when I was skinny, so seeing people have a opportunity for education, then I deem, didn't get the proper degree. We talk about that. You need to be in STEM, or there's some degrees that are going to make money, and some degrees you're gonna go up, you're gonna graduate owing money that you can never pay back. So what's up, JM? Let's see. I talked to yep, what's up, JM? So once again, one athletes, that's what he's doing. He's called the coach. Y'all go check him out. So he's trying to get athletes with their scholarship to major in things that's going to pay you back, right? What's the return on investment, right? This channel and most channels I hang out with, we're STEM, we're IT, we're tech, we're DBAs, we're project managements, right? So we're not social studies, no disrespect to social studies, but things where you could come out hopefully in 4 or 5 years you can get to six figures, right? So that's what we try to promote. So let's get into education. So most people know that I taught for 10 years, right? I taught at a community college, then I taught at a uh, for a profit college that got shut down. So let's look at a quick article on that. So y'all know I'm a drop a little gem. It was called ITT Tech, right? And they actually, and when I there, I was telling people to leave, but it was super close to a scam almost. Or degrees in arts, a waste of time these days. For me, I don't think you can make art if you're a world famous artist. I'm a numbers guy, so the odds of you from being an average artist to make a living is small. If you're an average programmer, you can make a decent living, right? If you're an average AWS guy and you can do cloud support, you can make a good living. If you're an average social worker, you're gonna starve, right? So, so JM, I'm a numbers guy. So this is where I used to work. They officially closed down the university because uh, it was good in the early years, but their technology got slow. That we were running old VMs on these old PCs, we really couldn't get them to run, and the curriculum was super outdated. So, just real quick, let's talk about it. Uh, Education approved $4 billion group discharge for 2008 borrowers who attended ITT Technical Institute. The one thing I did like ITT Technical Institute was it taught it I'm trying to word this right without a set of people. It let people in who were just barely surviving high school. I think it was a nice stepping stone. I always called it the 13th grade, right? But I had homeless students in my class. I've had veterans in my class. I used to always tell them to transfer to another college. I thought they were abusing veterans, but that's really how they stay afloat. But ITT, when it first started, was good. But as we know, technology changes and speed it up. Let's see what my man Gabe said. I always wonder why they shut down Ivy. Oh yeah, they wasn't. Oh, shout out to Chaos Rain. We chopped it up. He the one made me think about doing this stream because we talked about a myriad of topics on Chaos Rain. Go check him out, y'all. You can drop your channel on there if you want Chaos Rain. Gabe, most of my subscribers already know who Gabe is. But no, ITT Tech was a for-profit. So we read this quick paragraph. Today, the United States Department of Education announced it would discharge all the remaining federal student loans that borrowers received to attend ITT Tech from January 1st, 2005 through the closure in 2016. The decision follows department findings based on extensive internal records, testimony from ITT managers, recruiters, and firsthand accounts from borrowers. Results in 2008 borrowers receiving a $4 billion full discharge, including borrowers who have not yet applied for a borrower's defense to repay the discharge. These borrowers will have federal student loan they received to attend ITT discharge without any additional action on their part. Right. So basically, it was a failed university. What they were promising, they wasn't close to getting it. Right. The weird thing is one of my students that was at ITT right now. He's a CNA doing Cisco work right now. So I'm gonna interview him. So the curriculum was okay, but they were teaching a lot of stuff besides IT that was uh, they wasn't really set up for students to succeed. Once again, I did like it because man, I had homeless students. I had students that were struggling, and I thought it was some way if you wanted to get in IT, you can start there and then transfer to community college. That's what I would tell kids to do. Go here for a month, get your grades up, then transfer and get out because it was super expensive, right? So they were pushing these federal loans on kids, and I'm like, dude, you could go to a community college for 25% of what this costs, right? And that's what we're gonna get down to is what is the blueprint for college from a cost standpoint, educational standpoint, and you succeeding as a person, right? And two is we all know it's different for each individual. So, and two is you got to do your research because if anybody researched ITT Tech, they got Defry in here. I always see the commercials for Defry. You got to do your research because sometimes, people be selling you a dream that's never going to happen, right? No matter how hard you work. Sometimes if you're not taking the proper classes and the proper courses, right, it's never gonna happen. So that's one thing I think we gotta work on and keep grinding at it, right? So once again, if you got any questions, just put them in the chat. And once again, too, and we're gonna get to that. You got to make sure you get the right educational system for you, right? And we know we're gonna get to it. Could be degrees, certs, boot camps, apprenticeship, a mix of all of those together, right? So you just got to figure out which one. Now, what I think is the one of the blueprints for me in education is community college, right? This is one where I used to work in. We kind of had a slight falling out. I don't let students tell me what to do, so uh, but it was all good. I recommend them. It's called Ivy Tech. They're super big in the Indiana area. All their credits transfer to let's see, can you see that? All their credits transfer to major colleges in Indiana. I'm talking about some world-class colleges. I'm trying to find the hmm. so So this is a community college I taught for probably 10 years at. They got different programs. They got a ton of tech programs, a few engineering programs. This is a 2-year college. Super affordable, super um, easy to get into, small classroom size. And two is Purdue University is ranked fifth, I think, in engineering among the whole nation. All your class from Ivy Tech transfers to Purdue. Rose-Hulman is a super small university. I think they rank 13 in engineering in the United States. All your credits transfer from here to there. IU University, everybody's familiar with that from basketball too. All your credits transfer from here to there. So I always tell people, um, if you want to save money and get those electives out, psychology, sociology, I would say go to the community college, take those classes remotely, uh, take them at a reasonable rate. Then when you're ready to go, because when I was in college, which was 30 years ago, uh, computer science was only 42 hours, but I think I needed 130 hours to graduate. That's 90 hours of things to make PBO a more well-rounded person. Did it help? Hell, I don't know, right? But just different ways to think about doing things, right? And once again, you don't have to go to college degree. I mean, it's not the end all be all. I'm just an old school guy because when you start going up in the ranks, how you start, especially management, division lead, CISO, most of those people have degrees and they're looking for people with degrees, right? And when you start cutting people off, a lot of times, especially I do a lot of federal work, one of the things they put in there is they want you to have a degree when you get in management, right? So doesn't mean you have to have one. It just makes life a little easier for you to move and get promoted the way you want to get promoted, right? So that's the reason why. And two is once again, there's great community colleges throughout the United States, right? To figure out what you want to do, what you want to be, and how you and what you want to do. And I always tell people, you don't really need to know what you want to major in. It really helps and you want to make money, but it's easy to do that at community college. It's a lot easier to figure out what you want to do and how you want to move, right? Because after a while is, especially when you move up, a lot of times they want you to have a degree. It could be in engineering, computer science. I work with biologists. I worked with organizational behavior people a lot of times. A friend of mine, we went to school together. He actually started as a biologist. Now he's a Azure engineer because most people figure out in the end the money's in IT, right? Not for everything, right? But if you're doing kind of IT work for your job, you switch over. IT really is where the money is. So you see a lot of people switching over. So once again, I always give a shout out to Ivy Tech, and I always tell, especially young people in my state, this is what you need to do. If you're not trying to stay on campus and step and do that life, right? You can work a job at night, do your Ivy Tech, save money, then go to a large university your last year and a half or 2 years, right? And you save a boatload of money. Shout out to CL. Shout out to bring me in the big game, big money. Salute. Yeah, I helped my man CL. We were working in the same thing, and it was weird. I'm about to interview him again. He had crazy credentials and was struggling to get into IT, right? Or into cybersecurity to be exact. He was in IT. Sometimes you got the gatekeepers and stuff. I had a little power and I knew the guy on the team. I was like, I want him on our team. So I had Kim and Q, another young guy I brought on, help get on our team because I know sometimes it's super hard to get in cybersecurity, man. I don't know. It's gatekeepers. I think people get nervous. Until we brought in CL, he was the youngest person, man. My team, I think the average age of mine before we brought CL, it probably was 60, no, 55. So now our security team was old. So we had to inject it with some young people. Shout out to NC workers. Shout out to Gen Zeus. What do you think about pay to train jobs to shop you to other businesses? There's some good and bad about that. I would just do my research because a lot of times is you train it for a certain level job, but then they put you into a super not low entry job, right? So you can pay them back. Right. I think I'm cool with that, Gene Zeus. Let me think about that. Why I chopped that up. My thing is, if I pay you and train you, why can't you have inroads in the companies? Right. Most when I tell people to look at certain boot camps, or even certain colleges, I will look at their recruiting baseline. Who are they connected to? Do their graduates have a pipeline in certain companies, right? When you go to certain universities, they're connected with certain Fortune 500 companies, right? Or these companies come on for their job fair and they have their top students at least work at these companies, right? So I think they should be able to show you that, right? So I was kind of worried when that's kind of almost indentured servitude. But I think some of that too is you pay a reduced rate, right, for that, right? So you don't pay them back till you get paid. So there's some validity to that. But what kind of job are they going to put you in, right? And two is what pipelines do they have companies? Because if you're going to sign up for that, they need to have a pipeline to show me where if I do excellent as a graduate, this is where I need to go, right? So let's talk about, and we kind of on it now. What to me is a couple tech blueprints. Um, Ivy Tech for me, once again, I taught there for 10 years. I know they have excellent instructors. Sometimes though, even with associates, hard to move. But I think going to a community college, especially if you're working somewhere and your employer is going to pay for it, right? So but now you working in the day, working at night. Some employers will let you take class to the day and support you like that. And you work a little bit at night and a little bit on the weekend, right? So you kill two birds with one stone. But that's the blueprint. Now you're not incurring any debt. Hopefully that company's paying for your associates, at least let you work. Even if you work in help desk, shout out to Kev Tech, the help desk, at least you would be getting IT experience from that company. Right. So that's kind of one of the blueprints. Then two is once you get your associate, once again, Ivy Tech, you could transfer to Purdue, which is a top 10, Rose Holman, which is a top 15. You could transfer to IU, which I think is a top 30 schools, Big Ten schools. Um, so once again, Indiana did a good job of connecting their community college to their 4-year college to make it an easy transfer. So when I tell people, when you do that, go through and make sure your credit's going to transfer, right? Even though your company's paid for them, you don't want to waste your time. And just going back to ITT Tech, they get their money back. But I work with a lot of veterans. They were already 31, 32 when they started school, and they wasted like 4 years of their life, 5 years of their life at IV Tech. I mean, at ITT Tech, even though they get their money back, man, when you get to a certain age, like me, my time is more expensive than money, right? So you need to make sure you're not wasting time, right? And two is we got to have a definition of waste of time. Waste of time is you're not going to get an ROI on investment, right? Now, if you study networking and you switch to something else, that's not a waste of time, because I'm a programmer, but when I learned networking, which I'm decent at, I'm not great at it. When I went to cybersecurity, when we review network diagrams and system diagrams, I know what I'm looking at, right? I could look at network traffic. If I need to do a route, we can do that. But shout out to CL. Usually we put in tickets, right? We delegate that work, but you need to understand what you delegate, at least at a high level. So when you get those findings back as a security person, right, you know what you're looking at. So that's one of the blueprints, right? Community college, 4-year college, then right degrees, then you're a junior person. I don't think Gets get any money back. I think it go back to the VA. What's up, Tech G? Let me make you a moderator. My man Tech G's teaching online. I share this class. He's starting this class on January. I've been sharing it. I recommend people to go check my man out. Definitely super knowledgeable in here. I might sign up for a Security Plus. My Security Plus, I didn't do a good job keeping on my continuous education. But now, shout out CL. We're gonna do some CISP. I'm old. I got to get my CISP. He got his. So I need to go and get mine. That's on my last. So but yeah, check most of my subscribers know who Tech G is. But if you don't, go check out his class. I definitely recommend him. Like I said, I probably get in a Security Plus. I think he got $10 a month on one of his tiers. So I might get in there and take a few class too. And two is, I tell people, man, is I got my Security Plus back in 2007. So I need to retake it anyway, because there's so much new stuff in Security Plus. There's so many new services, new tools. And me as a cybersecurity professional, I call myself a savant. I call myself a Gnostic. I got to keep up with trends, so you need to keep recertifying yourself, right? So you keeping up with the trends, right? Time and tech stops for no one, right? I started off with JCL COBOL. Now I'm studying AWS cloud certification, right? So there's just technology you just got to keep up on. That's a good thing, and a bad thing about technology is there's always a wave, there's always a six-figure wave, but I know BlackBerry programmers that don't exist anymore. I know Power Builder guys that don't exist anymore. I'm trying to think about some other tools that was hot back then. I know site-based programmers that don't exist anymore, right? So if you don't stay relevant on the tools, you can definitely disappear. To trying to fail the first one. Hey man, we all fail, CL. You ain't failing. That's just a part of the process, man. But you got the CISP. But two is, once again, I'm sending shout outs. Go check out Tech G, man. I'm not getting any once he blow up, I'm gonna get what's that thing where you get the payback when you sign up. I'm gonna get one of those, man, like on Amazon. But nah, I'm just recommending it because I see him grinding it. He like me, man. A lot of times you put in work on videos and you get a few views and you get like $3 for from the algorithm in YouTube. So I see him out there grinding. So if you're doing A plus, Network Plus, Security Plus, you got your Security Plus up, Tech G. Put your link in there to your site for your class. But yeah, go check out my man. I like to see people putting in work, and I definitely like to support them when I know they got the skills and putting them in. So let's keep going on what I consider part of the blueprint is certifications, right? If you come out, get your certifications. Shout out to Tech G. if you get your network plus, A plus, and security plus, I always call that the trifecta, right? You get your trifecta, right? And getting the help desk, Tech G does I think he's doing his career development where he'll help you walk through and help you get a job. Shout out to Kev Tech. There's a few shout out to Black Heights career people. Those people can help you get the search and help you actually get a job, right? You might not be making six figures, right? But it gets you on the ground floor. And once you get in the tech, it's just up to you and how you grind and how you get there. You just need to get in the door, right? And that's one reason I shout out to CL. I always call him Tony. He's about 6'7", 350. That's my guy. I always like standing next to him. I look small, but now he gonna come on the channel again, and we're gonna chop it up. But he had all the credentials, right? He had all the skills. So it was just me opening up the gate and letting him in, right? And when I was younger, I was hoping people would do that for me when they saw me grinding, right? My man Q passed away. That was on our team. So he came from customer service and we helped him get a job in IT. He didn't really have any IT service, right? He actually was doing business continuity and disaster recovery from paperwork. We always talk about compliance, GRC, governance risk. I do NIST. Shout out to CL, IRS Pub 1075. There's a lot of paperwork. So we brought him in because he was excellent at detail. PBL sometimes ain't detailed like that. So he was excellent and had those skills. So I saw a spot for him. And that really, he whispered to me, that elevated his life. I think it was like a $15,000 raise he got, right? Coming to IT, right? And he didn't really have any IT degrees or anything, but he had a certain skill set, right? So I just thought it was things once again to get people in the industry. So if you get your certifications, you take those classes and you grind, that is a level of accomplishments that a lot of employers will recognize and help you get in on the ground floor, right? A lot of times is once you get on the ground floor, you can start rolling. Because I'm old. I started off as a junior programmer. You used to have to do it like apprenticeship. It was like junior programmer, system analyst. Then I think I was a web admin. Then I was a DBA, right? So I had probably almost 20 years in. No, probably 15 years in when I moved out of cybersecurity, right? But since I had all those different levels of understanding, for me to do cybersecurity was pretty easy, right? Because I could do red team, I could do purple team for because application and DevOps is really from the programming side, right? You checking in code, compiling code, right? Hackers now are putting in viruses, right? Then they push it out and take over. Kaseya took over the oil thing, right? So that's when you need to once again get those certifications. Once again, there's a lot of good information on YouTube, right? Then there's a lot of people taking the next step. Udemy courses. Once again, shout out to Tech G. He has a site. He has his courses, especially for what I call the trifecta. Right. Then the next thing after that I think is good, but you got to really do your research is boot camps. Right, boot camps, and I was debating I forgot who show I was calling. I was calling it baby apprenticeships, right? To me, when you apprenticeship is you work with somebody who know what they're doing, right? And they show you the ropes, right? I worked with CL, I showed him some basic stuff, and he was off and running, right? Because he had the skills and knowledge, right? I just showed him a couple basic things. Then we could talk and we can have meaningful conversations because I'm gonna learn a lot from him too, right? Because he had a CISP, so some of his knowledge was a little newer than mine. Because I'm always trying to grow and learn, right? But boot camp is what you pay for them to do that, right? It's for them to show you what you need to do a job, and you compensate them for that, right? But what does that mean, right? A lot of boot camps, a young guy of mine hurt my feelings. I need to reach out to him. He didn't pass the boot camp, so they just kind of left him dangling in the wind. So I was really confused, and I didn't know what to tell him. Right? I'm like, I had to think about it for a while. So I told him take a step back. I told him to reach out to Tech G and Kev Tech, look at their videos because I think he was trying to be a programmer. Programmer is a weird niche. You either love it or like it because You got to look at a screen. It's a lot better now. I looked at the screen for 3 hours just to figure out I forgot a semicolon, right? So program is a different beast back then. So I told him to take a step back, look at help desk, right? And two is like CL said, man, I done failed a few certification tests, a few classes. So it's just part of the process. But when he didn't pass, they took his money. He was just dangling, right? They didn't have a spot for him. I don't think I would at least think they would let him retake it for free if he paid for the money. But so really do your due diligence. But there are some great boot camps out there. Let's see what JM's saying. Let me get on over here. Check out my man Tech G right there. You get in there, I send people. I always send the people to him. I feel like if the IT field used the buddy system too much, it would. When it comes to facts. And we talked about that. And I talked about that on some other shows. One reason I wanted to do that is shout out to once again Chaos Rain is half the jobs you see are already filled. I worked at a large state agency, and a lot of times they have to post that because of federal regulations and HR. You can look how it's worded, right? So some of that's definitely part of that buddy system, right? But I think, Jam, you got to get it work for you. You got to get the right buddies, right? So we can get you in there or get people in there at the same level. Because any job you have, there's going to be a source of nepotism and a source of them hooking their friends up and their relatives, right? And shout out to Gay Bay. He had me actually thinking some things I was doing because my second management job, I hated it. My team wasn't good. They were going around me and some other BS. So I just kind of shied away from management, right? I'm kind of a top tier consultant. I come in, talk to CISOs, CIOs, shout out to CL, kind of train people up on the process. They got it. Now they run with it, and I go do something else, right? So, but that's one failing I thought where if I had a management job and I had my own team, me and CL talked about that. I could hire who I want, then bring some people that are my buddies on JM. So I do agree with you, but I think it works both ways. For us, it doesn't work good because, like you said, we don't have a lot of those people in those positions to hire, right? So that's why you gotta be a savant and very good at your job, right? You got to be a SME, a subject matter expert, right? So, once again, I'm just part of the system, but I failed my boot camp too. A lot of them like good instructions, and yeah, that's two. Shout out to JF for being honest and transparent. And two is, and I think, and that's what I should tell my students when I taught is most time when a student fails, I take it as a teacher as my failure, right? Because unless it's an entry level course, you took the prerequisites to say you should be in this course or you have the required skills to be in this course and you should understand this course, right? So I should at least be able to teach you to get you to a C. I'm not trying to get you to be a superstar, but I at least should give you enough knowledge for you to pass. And I think that's on a lot of teaching. And we're going to get there too. What do I think the problem is with education? And that's one of the problems right there. You get a lot of teachers who really ain't in the industry. You get a lot of teachers who aren't invested. I usually, especially if I see you grinding, I'm gonna usually help the student, right? And that's one reason I got released is I was giving people extra assignments, extra work. The syllabus says I couldn't do that. I'm PBO, I can do that, right? So if I see you grinding, my job is to assist you to help you. My job ain't just a. There was this one lady, she was rushing. She just be flunking kids, man. She got a joy out there. For me, if I flunk somebody, especially if I saw them grinding, especially if I see you study, that's a failure on my part, right? So that's just kind of my 2 cents, and we're gonna keep rolling. Sorry about that, JM on the boot camp. Boot camps can be some of boot. Oh yeah, Tech G, we know. That's why I said you gotta do your research. I think a lot of them are money, and a lot of them charge $10,000 for a boot camp. I'm like, are y'all crazy? Once again, shout out to community college, right? So they charge an astronomical amounts of money for boot camp, and they're not even relevant, right? If I'm paying $10,000, you got to guarantee me a job. What's up, John? You got to guarantee me a job. What's up, Adrian? Asked, but I definitely agree with that. So we hit the big three, right? Degrees, certs, and boot camps. You got to figure out which one fits you as a learner, which one fits your time, and which one fits your personality and basically your pockets. I'm always a college guy because I'm old. I always have, and most employers, which people always freak out. My MBA was paid by my employer, right? And I got my MBA in 1995. It was where they came to me and said, "Well, if we pay for your MBA, you got to stay for 2 years." They said, "When does it start?" When we start paying you. I'm thinking in my mind, it's gonna take me 2 years to get an MBA, right? So for me, it wasn't a big deal. And I try to tell young people, and they freak out. A year of your life is super small. When you're young, a year seems long, but the older you get, man, a year is like a blink of an eye, man. When you get 55, man, I felt like I blinked and this year went by, right? So I always tell people, make sure the ROI makes sense. You working for the company. Now, granted, if you leave, you can make more money, but once you get that top level cert or that top level degree, you can make 30 or 40%. I was leaving jobs and I was getting like 30% raises, right? Because you get to a sweet spot where you're underpaid, but now I was doing Oracle was the bag, then I became an Oracle DBA, then I made my first six figures, right? Because I got the Oracle training, I got the Oracle certification. Then my next job, they paid for my certifications of me being an Oracle SME. That's why I would give a shout out to Larry Ellison. Shout out to Oracle, even though it's almost obsolete now. A lot of companies getting rid of Oracle because it's expensive. But once again, you need to get those certs, get those degrees, and figure out which one of those blueprints are for you. Right? Once again, you got the degree blueprint, you got the search blueprint, and you got the boot camp blueprint. And you can mix and match. Like people know I'm on my AWS grind. I got 4 AWS certs, but I'm thinking about taking an AWS boot camp high level that I trust because sometimes I'm doing these labs, I'm getting them, but I'm not getting them. Right. So I tell people I can get 90% or 95% on AWS lab. The lab's still not working because for something to work, you got to be 100%. Right. So am I missing something? Would a boot camp help me time that? But when I go in boot camp, I'm gonna be drilling those instructors because I'm gonna have the basics. So I'm coming with some very specific questions I need y'all to ask. And I'm doing certain architectures and I need you to validate that architecture, right? So you can definitely mix and match those different blueprints. And two is it's different points in your life too, right? When I was younger, cool, I had time for the degrees. I had time, Now I'm 55. I only got 10 more years left. I need a couple certs, right? Get a boot camp so I can get on that next wave, so I can get on that cloud bag, right? I need 10 more years, right? I'm 55. I need to get to 65. I can retire. That's 10 years of cloud. Uh, I'm trying to get into DevOps because I used to be a developer. So that's kind of what I'm studying for, right? So you as a person got to figure out, okay, what's going to be your next 10 years of your life? I know it sounds far, but I promise you it comes up quick. So what are you doing next? How are you moving? And what you're going to do? I feel because the assessment about creating a website was with different forms. And when you click submit, it would make different Ajax calls and display or remove items. Oh yeah, shut up. I used to do a little Angular, and I used to do Java with JavaScript. Yeah, Ajax was super hot. Now the Ajax is built into Angular, and so the Angular does the Ajax for you. Now everybody doing Wix and stuff for websites now. What's the one that always getting hacked? So cheers to teacher actually want to help students. Facts. But the lessons didn't really convert with what they asked for me. The lessons just covered Ajax calls, but I was long on how to remove that items with React. Yeah, shout out to React. That's what I was thinking of. Either Angular or React. So I'm probably gonna start doing Java and Angular. I probably get with Citizen Loop. But yeah, once again, that's why you gotta be careful with those boot camps to make sure. And two is I looked at some of those boot camp syllabus. That's 3 years worth of learning. They trying to do in 6 weeks, man. They be having database calls, Ajax, validation, hooking it to a database, trying to figure out the web server and app server. I'm like, dude, I studied each one of them for a semester in college, and I think that was enough, right? So a lot of times you're trying to squeeze a lot of information. Then two is the person retaining the information so they can pass an when they go for a job interview, right? They're going to be pinging you. Are you getting it enough for there? So once again, when you pick your area of blueprint and you mix and match them, you got to be ready to acquire that knowledge and be able to do more than throw it up, right? You got to be able to architect it out. You got to be able to design it. You got to kind of fit it to what the company's trying to do, right? So they don't play games. You feel you done send the bill. Yeah, that's my part with them, Jam. And I think that's where the government needs to send come down and find them because to me, and that's why I was whispering to those guys when I was at ITT Tech, they're just using veterans as a form of payment, and they're not really teaching them, right? And if they're struggling, they just push them to the side. So if you get 2 or 3 semesters and they overcharge them on a VA bill, you know you're gonna get your money for the government, but what happens to the person? And two is I pulled a couple aside because I could see them getting depressed, right? Because you have a vision and it's not happening for you. Now you burning up your GI bill on something that's not successful, right? So I think that's a huge problem for for the veterans and for the educational system. It's I wouldn't say common, but it's quite typical. I see that a lot at when I was at IB Tech. It seems like, which is weird. It seems like they want to talk down to students. It's a for me that's a weird thing for me, Jam. And programmers are the worst. I think out of all the programming disciplines in IT, we get this thing if you don't do it like how we want to do it or what we want to do it, or you can't catch on. So I yeah, we're bad about this, and especially a lot of PhD instructors, because they never really worked in the field. They only taught. They are super arrogant, Jam. I had to get on one time. We were getting in a debate, and that's why they don't like me because I tell them I'm like, you teach it. I do this shit for real, homie. I'm about this life, man. What I talk about, I've done, right? So no, JM, that's the sad part. I see that a little more than I would like to bring up, which kind of really bothers me. So let's see. So those are the blueprint. Once degrees, certs, boot camp, and I falsely called boot camp. I'm calling it apprenticeship light, and I think that's one thing we need to do more in YouTube, and I'm kind of trying to figure that out, right? I think Tech G, once again, go check him out. He's doing great things. He's got his university, he's got his online stuff. I probably set mine up, so I think I'm gonna do mine on compliance because that's what I do for a living. But because there's a lot of people that get the certs and get the degrees, but they can't get in because a lot of times is they teach you programming segments or like AWS, they teach you a load balancer, they teach you a cert, they teach you what am I doing? Lambda, right? They teach you pub and sub SNS. But when you go on a job, you got to put together architecture. When this file hit, right? I'm gonna use AWS SSFTP. I'm gonna send it to an S3 bucket. That S3 bucket is gonna kick off an pub and sub. That pub and sub is gonna put it in the queue. The queue is gonna be picked up by my Lambda, inserted into a PostgreSQL database and calculate some stuff. Right. That is an architecture. A lot of times when you're doing boot camps and classes, they just teach you individual pieces. They don't put those pieces together because we always laugh. I see educational trained stuff and they do an architecture. I'm like, that's cute, but we gotta send a billion rows in 4 hours. What you design ain't gonna never do that, right? So what's real world architecture? What's a real world process? What's a real world system? Right? A lot of times you talk about, and I do a ton of labbing. Then when I look at my labs, I'm thinking, yeah, I can't run a billion rows through this, right? So what is the proper architecture for that? Or I do work for the government. This will never pass a security compliance check. So what would that look like? And what would that look like together, right? So that's taking the knowledge, right, and figure out what's in real world, how can you make some money, and how do you actually implement it in real life, right? And I think that's the part we're kind of missing. I'll just stick to Udemy Free Code Academy when it comes. Oh no, that's winning. I've actually bought a couple Udemy classes. I bought an AWS architect. She's they got these weird thing called Fellow of Architecture in AWS. They want to pay guys crazy amount of money on the tech side, so they give them like a fellowship, like you a PhD in architect. So this guy named Raj, he throwing out some cool architects. So I've been kind of going now. That's winning. And Udemy, they got a sale on right now. I was thinking about buying the AWS database, especially. I love databases, so I probably get that one. But no, shut out now. I think Udemy. I'm gonna tell you to take Tech G's class and take a couple Udemy classes, and you off and rolling, man. So now that's definitely winning right there. Definitely winning. Is 1 week enough to learn SQL? That's on hell no, man. I did SQL for 2 or 3 years before I got the hang of it. There's and two is people. Yeah, no, it's not enough. It's not even close enough. I taught a database class at Ivy Tech, and it was 18 weeks. I can't remember. Yeah, I think it was 18-week semester, and and just SQL. Yeah, no, Jam, it's not close because SQL's part of a database. So now you got to talk about indexes and third normal form and foreign keys and unique indexes and hashing that's built in. I was thinking about doing a database class online for Oracle, just get into in depths of what databases is, right? Then when you put it in the cloud, you got credits. So if you run so long, you burning up your credits. Then you talking about NoSQL databases, right? You got standard relational, NoSQL, graph, in memory, Elasticache. So there's different databases, and you use SQL. You can use SQL in each one of those databases, but it's a little different, right? So it's a time. Oh, yeah, shout out to LinkedIn Learning. I got LinkedIn Learning paid for it. I don't even use it that much. I use Udemy, but now shout out to LinkedIn Learning. I need to cancel my subscription. They gave us 2 weeks to learn React. Yeah, see that's my beef with boot camps right there, because there's no way you can become proficient in that short of time. Although those are equally big subjects, right? So you trying to do 2 years of programming classes in whatever long the boot camp is, right? And the two is you going back to back days. You might, and when I talk program, we do two assignments a week, so you got 7 days to kind of ingest it, right? And we spoon feeding you, right? So they trying to ingest it in like a day. So now, Jay, I mean, once again, that's my big issue with boot camp. Shout out to Casual Economist for joining us. Congratulations to Gabe. He had his baby, man. I'm praying for him. My kids got kids, man. I'm trying to retire, but I know Gabe's gonna be a great father. Though. Are you talking about a boot camp? Yeah, JM's talking about a boot camp, Casual Economist. Yeah, those foods. Yeah, I am. I wouldn't say against the full stack boot camp. Um, I think salute to Maddox. JM, and I think I'm gonna talk about that more. I think we need to do prerequisites on YouTube, especially in our sector. Once again, Tech G, Kev Tech, me, Keep It Techie, Before the Billions. But I think Black Heights was taking a boot camp. He's coming out of retirement. We should have prerequisites, so when people like JM get ready for the boot camp, he should have most of those things already figured out at a high level. He has an understanding, because if you try to understand and do it, man, it's almost impossible. So I think they need to have a primer to the boot camp, right? And I think we need to start pushing the primer to boot camps to make sure people are more successful, because that's way too many technologies, man. For that, man, it took me a couple years to to be decent at a full stack, right? And because you got the front end, the middle, and the back end, that's way too much. Then you got your front end frameworks. That's too much. So, and I was thinking about going to boot camp. No, don't do that. I don't want to dissuade you, casual economists. Let me get it back up there. we want to make sure we set you up for success. So if you want to do it, let's talk about it. We can bring JM. I think you need to do a primer to the boot camp. Chime in if you think that would be a good deal, JM. If you think a primer where you touched on each one of those beforehand, before you got immersed, I'm gonna call it immersion, right? Um, like I said, I did JSP pages before I actually did Angular, right? I did Oracle forms and reports, so I knew SQL on the back end. I did that for 10 years before when I started getting into kind of full stack development, right? So I've done each one of those pieces for a couple years before I did a full stack. Now we want to make a full stack, you know. We're gonna, yep. So you're gonna make a full stack instant, like it's biscuits. We're gonna put you in the oven and you're a full stack developer. There's just a lot to that. And each one of those pieces to me can get 3 or 4 months easy. Angular and React, JSPs, with validation of fields, before you even put them in the middleware into a C# object or a Java object, just doing the front end. Then a Java object and a C# in the middle, validating those objects, doing transactions is something you roll back. Then the third part, once again, inserting into a database or using Hibernate, MySQL, SQL Server. Each one of those, like I said, I did database forever. So yeah, that's way too much, Jane. I can see it before I even read it. Yeah, at the fourth week, you do JavaScript HCM. That's supposed to be prerequisite. Yeah, but you need a little more than that. For me, no, I think you need to do. Yeah, no, I feel you, Jam. That's super hard, man. Like I said, I know, and I think the boot camp dropout rate is pretty high, or not even dropout rate, the unsuccessfulness. Some people pass and still can't get a job, right? Sometimes there's a lot to go to boot camp. And some employers, which I think is wrong, they don't respect boot camps, right? They're still looking for certifications and degrees, right? I thought about getting Java certified one time. So once again, those are the blueprints. Once again, I'm a degree guy, community college, 4-year college. Certs, once again, shout out to my man, Tech G, go check him out. Then boot camps, right? I'm not super fond of boot camps. I think you need to use boot camps very strategically when you use them, right? And I think JM is co-signing that for me. Like I said, I don't think he failed. I think the boot camp failed him. Yeah, that's a lot of pressure, man. And then boot camps be super expensive, man. Once again, I think that's something we can do inside the tech part of YouTube to get people prerequisite for that. Talk about, like I said, those 3 layers. Talk about it from Angular, React. I'm assigning assignments like people work for me. I can get Citizen Lou. I think he does React, right? In Angular, what does that mean? Java, I could do that. Then C#, I think B2B and Maximilian do that. Then I could do Oracle, SQL Server, MySQL on the back end, uh, using Hibernate, or I forgot what Microsoft uses. They wrap your data in the object and actually insert it in their database, right? But that's a whole different technology onto itself, right? So I think we need to help people be more successful and set them up, right? I'll see what my man Tech G says. No, facts. And that's one of the failures of the boot camp. I think resume writing, shout out to Tech G, shout out to, there's a couple people that do that. And that's part I think should be part of the boot camp when you pay all that money is resume writing. Shout out to Kev Tech, Tech G. Your LinkedIn profile is super duper for that. I actually got an AWS interview just off of my LinkedIn profile, right? In my YouTube videos. Now I didn't do well in the interview. It probably was a blessing. They probably would have been laying me off this week, but no, shout out. But how do you get, once again, like James, how do you get connected? Like Tech G say, how do you get resumes, your LinkedIn? Me presenting, I present in my local cybersecurity association, right? So then people would come up to me and start sending me jobs, right? So you putting yourself out there, right? And two is you got to do your resume a certain way now because the HR scanner, man, if you don't have your resume right, the right keywords and the right stuff, you could be qualified and not even get in the interview. Right. So I appreciate that, Maddox. Yeah, give me a little likes out there, man. Yeah, I got to work on my LinkedIn. So let's see. So we talked about the blueprint. Now we're going to really back it up now. So I'm going to talk K through 12 education. All right. Let's see. With Tech G, I ran 3 resumes last 2 weeks. I already work in tech, looking for new jobs. Uh, People's resumes be looking like research, and I'm one of those. Tech G. I need to tighten up on my resume. Oh no, Tech G's right. We gotta get the resumes tightened up. So check out Tech G. I'm gonna throw out their textual chatters in there. I think Black Heights do a little bit of that. So Tech G's giving you his full course with his resume writing. So definitely go check it. Yeah, I'm bad about that. My resume look like it's from the 80s. The cool thing is though, is for me, and I need to do a little better at that, is I get most of my jobs and side work from, once we say connections, people know me. When people see my YouTube videos, people hook me up with other people. So I don't really interview as much anymore, you know. So, but now he's where I need to tighten that up, man. I got the afro on the taking new headshots. Yeah, I need to do that too, man. I'm using a picture from like 1987 when I'm skinny on LinkedIn, so I definitely need to get mine upgraded. So, like I said, roll it back. So my thing is, and I'm challenging Tech G and Gabe A, is that we need to do stuff for the middle school people. So I might do a Python class. I saw one on Amazon, a Python class, I think for 10 years old. So I was thinking about maybe running through that on my channel as a class. So I think we need to get kids started earlier, right? And I think we need to get them engaged in there, which is hard, right? I tell my grandson, we doing IT, he goes, I don't want to do that. That's for nerdy people. I'm like, but we make all the money, grandson. But how do we get young people involved in tech, right? So I've been mulling over a few things, but so I think K through 12, because when I go through affluent areas, they got kindergartners using this ball and they're programming the ball to move around, and they got a screen. It's eating up mushrooms, but they teaching the ball using degrees how to move, right? So I think we need to figure out earlier, right, how to get people in IT, because I think if you start them earlier, that makes it easier for them to succeed in IT. The weird thing is, I started a programming class which was early back then, a junior when I was in high school. So when I went to college, I've already done COBOL, I already done PL1, I already did Fortran. So for me, it was kind of like, oh, I've done this before, right? Not at that level, but probably 70% of it. So it wasn't like it was this big immersement. I wasn't getting overwhelming because I had some prerequisite, like we were talking about JM is, so I wasn't overwhelmed, right? It's like, okay, and I had AP back then, which was calculus one, right, when I was in high school. So when I had to take the college math and technical, I was like, oh, I've done most of this, right? So then when I had to take a unique class, it wasn't overwhelming because I've done parts of it in IT. And two, back then I was using a mini computer. Right now, you can do most of that stuff on laptop. Most of that stuff you can do on a browser, right? Most of my labbing I do, right? I log in AWS. I'm just configuring Linux servers, backend databases, Lambda, which is a serverless programming language you just pick, right? But you can just do all that stuff from your laptop. You don't need. In the old days, I used to have 5 servers in my house to learn, right? I had these little cheap Dell servers. I would wire them up with a little router in my house in my bedroom, and it'd be hot. I'd be in there programming, do a 3-tier network. Now you can do all that stuff online, right? I spin that up and tear that down every day, right? So what can we do for middle schoolers, right? Because education, and we're gonna get for the future, looks dim, right? Because I think we're trying to figure out how to educate people. I think we're still on education in the 50s, right? It's all kind of this road. You don't leave your desk. We're gonna make you learn. You don't move. It's not enlightening. There's nothing imaginative about it, right? It's all the same stuff that we've been doing for 30 years. The weird thing though is I think kids are doing harder problems a little earlier. I be seeing middle schoolers doing trigonometry now, right? So that's a little quick. But I think from K through 12, shout out, I was mentioning B2B. He came on. Go check us out. He interviewed me. I shared it on my community tab. Would it be started HTML kids? Says, oh yeah, definitely. I would start off with HTML for kids. Um, yeah, I would definitely start off from a proclaim HTML. They have this thing called the ball, and I'm gonna show this on another screen where it's kind of like this game, and you're programming with these pictures, and it's making a ball move. But the pictures are kind of like branches from a do while loop or a loop and stop, right? So they have different things for kids, but HTML would definitely be part of that. But they got these balls and these where you eat these mushrooms, but you using if thens and loop statements to make the ball move, JM. So I think that's definitely the future of that. Yep, facts, facts. I need to tighten up the resume. F the kids. I need to you keep the content. Facts, facts. I feel you, casual economists, man. We're gonna take care of you first, man. But we gotta get that future in there. Now I feel you. It's getting ugly out here too, man. I feel you. I feel you, man. Yeah, once he get it done, we can do that for the kids. Shout out, that is funny, Tech. Shout out to him. But yeah, go check out me and Before the Billions. I'm glad it came out. I'm upset with Before the Billions, man. You got me looking like a broke Rick Ross on that thumbnail, man. I need sign off approval on that Before the Billions before you do those thumbnails. You and Miss B finesse, man. I'm not happy with my pitch on them thumbnails. PBO need to do some damn weight in 2023, but I wasn't happy with that thumbnail. B2B, my face looked big as shit. B2B, I wasn't happy with that thumbnail, player. For loops are confused. Yeah, true, true, true. And I think, like you said, but if you've been using them to eat up mushrooms when you're little, right? Too, for loops. How do you get out? Do you stop? Do you end? Sometimes you break. Sometimes the while is counting. Sometimes the loop is counting down some integer for you to get out. JM. There's a lot of ways to handle a for loop, right? So. And once again, B2B's teaching Java, so I'm sure he's gonna be breaking down them loops in his Java class. I'm gonna highlight. Shout out to B2B Java coming in summer 2023. It's all right, B2B. I was like, damn, my face look big as shit on that down there. Like, I'm not happy with B2B. I'm had to. I didn't know you see it. I actually added you on that on that video. I was like, I love the video chopping up, but I'm not happy with the thumbnail. You and Miss B finesse, she got me yelling on her thumbnail. But now, shout out to Jam, but B2B's teaching the job class. What's up? So where were we at? So yeah, so I think we need to do something for middle school and figure out how. Shout out to casuals, kind of this stuff. We got to figure out what can we do to make sure kids are successful. Because one of my blueprints too is, and I'm gonna get this out to Tech G is if you get a high school kid to take A plus as a freshman, Network Plus as a sophomore, Security Plus, and the AWS as a practitioner, he could come out really helping help desk when he graduates from high school and be making, I think, what the average person make. What average person makes 50 grand. If you got those 4 certs with little training and you do that while you're in high school, I think that'll be an excellent stepping stone for you to get a beginning help desk job or to get in IT. And I think you can really do all of that really in high school. Yeah, I know that. Yep, facts. That's where I got it from. I think some of that, but I think when I see that usually done, I usually see that done in affluent schools. Tech G, time in there. I don't see that really done in the inner city a lot. I know there's bigger problems, but I want to kind of bring that to the inner city and focus that in on that. You're right. I've seen a couple. I've seen. It was Tone Talks do it. He usually a little down there. He did one about the ball and which schools doing that type of work. They were doing that in middle school for them, though, right? But they were charging like an extra 20,000 a year for this class, and tech part of was part of their tech curriculum, right? So I just want to see that brought to like. I think that could be an everyday thing because shout out to Google, they trying to train 42 million people, right? So I just think we need to figure out how to get that once we get casual economists trained. How do we get that to the middle school, right? We can't solve everything today. Like Tech G, I've heard it and seen it done before. I just want to bring it to try to get people focused in IBS and try to get that down in some like tech high schools. They do it. Facts, technical high school. That's cool. That's cool. But I think that's the push I really want to do. But like Tech G says, sometimes you drag them to the to the well, but you can't get the horse to drink the water, right? So just me thinking because I just think that's one of the blueprints. Because I think those certs, especially if you let a young person study it over a whole year, they can pick those techniques up, those skills up. Especially now the way they use iPads and babies are skipping YouTube videos. Well, I think they could take to that like duck to water. And once again, I think that's one of future blueprints. So people can come out making a decent living and having a skill set that you can rely on. Right. So I'm just throwing that out. And I'm once again I'm gonna have B2B out there showing them loops and wild statements and if thens and uh the Fibonacci sequence. That's an old school thing. I got to Google that. The Fibonacci sequence. So bringing that up in Java because Java I think is I call it a base language, but it is pretty tricky. I think I would do a few languages before I jump into Java, but it gives you fundamental skills. I used to learn Pascal, which was a teaching language, right? It taught you the fundamentals, but I never knew anybody in the real world that used Pascal, which kind of pissed me off because I'm like, dude, I got 3 years of Pascal and ain't nobody using it in the real world. But it taught you loops, it taught you data structures, it taught you arrays, it taught you a bubble sort, right? So when you do a group by, what's really happening behind the scenes? What's a linked list, right? All of those fundamental data structures you need, right? When you doing a program, right? And you want it to scale, right? And you want to do it properly, right? So I think part of that, along with K-12, is kind of how you roll it. Yeah, facts. I've been thinking about that when you said that B2B. Let's see. I could be a classmate. Casual College was effing the kids. Shout out to Casual College. It's just the last 2 years of high school. They would need a mentor. I was in a situation with a technical high school to follow my best friends, not really thinking too much on it. Yeah, facts. So yeah, that's the blueprint, man. Um, I think a lot of people don't realize how that could help you and how and we talk about my Indian homies, how they're as a nation really focused on IT. So I think we need a segment that's focused on that. So if you did that, we would have you set up with a company ready to go to the help desk, right? Then go to the next level where if you want to do community college boot camp or certifications, you would have those initial skills to be a springboard to do other stuff with, right? So yeah, I think Python is a better language. Now I'm thinking about it. I'm about to go. People email me so I can talk to you about something. Cool. I got you. We'll chop it up. Everybody go check out Check G website. He's starting class if you're thinking about getting into it. Learn computer upgrade and repair. I'm a little against that. Uh it's cool but you gotta think, man, computers are so cheap. Big companies don't get their computers fixed anymore. If it's a motherboard and it's gonna cost me $100 to get it a board and get it soldered or something, I only paid $250 for the PC. I'll just give it away and write it up. The capital expend, especially when you buy. I work for a large state. They were buying 30,000 PCs. They were getting PCs dirt cheap because they were buying so many of them. Right. So I always flex a little bit about that. Not against it, but I think we need to get into software because that's where the money's made out. Let's see. Shout out to my man before the billions. Yeah, that's my thought pattern, man. And I think that's the future. I think because any home, that's what they come over to do as a nation. And when you go in IT, they be running it, right? I just think we need to get a small piece of it. Like I think we make 6%. I think FBAs and ADOS make about 3 or 2.2%. So I just want to get that up from 6 to 10, 6 to 12, right? So I just really want to double that percentage, right? Nothing crazy, be nice to get 10, 20% of the population in IT, right? Because like you said, that's going to help the community. That's going to give you viable skills. That's going to help families. That's going to help you invest, right? And two is you can start buying the block for real, right? When you got IT money. So I think that's one of the things from that. And I think starting kids out early so they can understand the importance of IT. Even if you're not doing it as a job, using IT in your job, right? So you're always going to use computers or something. I want to get my CompTIA trifecta with TechG back when it was free. Oh, that's facts, facts. Shout out to that. Yeah. He's doing some great work. I should have thought of that, to be honest. Yeah, that's killing. So yeah, I always try to send people to him. Let's see. So how you doing, Sharon? Oh, facts, facts, facts. Let's see. So let's talk about the future of education, right? So I think I think the future of it for me, it's I don't know. I'm usually kind of this pessimistic dark spot. What I believe C19 did is they figured out that they can educate kids from their home. Right. Now, I'm not saying it went well. I'm not saying that's the blueprint, but we all know there's some places that their tax base doesn't support the schools. So the state is actually losing money on the schools. So I think they're going to start disbanding physical buildings. So unless you're in a certain area that can support actually a classroom, I think they're going to start training kids, which they did it, right? And I think they're still working on it. I still think it could be better, but I think they're thinking about training people from home. And they're going to sell to you, we got the best instructors on the planet. They got the best videos on the planet, right? So I think in the future, you won't go to school in a physical school. You're going to go to school on home. And if you go to physical school, it's going to be like you're going to a private school or parochial school or basically a high dollar school. So I think that's going to be a future that makes me worried because you see kids struggling with just regular interaction. I got my two god kids. They're in the same room texting each other. I'm like, put down the phones and talk, right? Because when you get in the real world, well, maybe we won't be there. You got to talk to people. You got to talk to your boss. You got to talk to your colleagues. Shout out to B2B. You got to talk in the stand up, right? When you do your programming, right? So I worry that I believe if you're not in a certain demographic or make a certain amount of money, you're gonna be forced to learn from home. And we know a lot of people use school as daycare, right? Because so they can work, right? So if that doesn't happen, you've seen a lot of people getting pushed to the edge with that theory, right? So that's one thing just kind of been, it's not sitting well. It'd be good to bring up also representative, give us a sector where we positive facts. Yep, getting in IT, man. I think for young adults, they work or have busy life is good. However, kids should go in person. Oh, I agree. That's why I'm worried about it, JM. I just think if you're a city and you tired of losing money on your school system because the tax base doesn't support it, I think they're going to educate you at your house, right? Because really, that's what their your tax dollars are supposed to help educate the young people, right? Um, so that's one thing. Just kind of how would it actually work if that was full time? Stand up is my least facts. I told him I'm too old to stand up, so so. Oh, well, lots of students, but maybe they all gonna be left. They got left behind in the C19 crisis. So I think that's the future. You can see it, and he's struggling a little bit. The goggles, you get the Iron Man. Oh, Black Heights. I was just showing him Black Heights contributing to the barbecue Sunday. I always go check my man out. Those definitely one of the few people I already know. I need to get my butt over there because shout out to Tech G. My resume is looking like it's looking like a citation. Shout out to Black Heights. And if you look on to Tech G, get your stuff, get your resume right. And then when you need to go to this level, get in your career, talk about ladder climbing, go definitely check on Black Heights. Once you get your cert, you're gonna need a ladder climb. So he's definitely gonna help you do that. He's got his network done. But and that's one thing we talked on his show. And I'm a what can you do so you prepare for the future? Me and him chopped it up actually on Black High Show. But once again, I believe the negative part of the metaverse is they're they're gonna force you. If your tax base can't sustain a physical school, you're gonna go to class on metaverse. Now, there's some things I do like on metaverse. If you ever look at Iron Man, you can click the engine, it comes apart, right? We can actually touch the belt, or I'm a IT. We can click it on there. The hard drive's gonna open up. We're gonna see the platter. You're gonna touch the platter. It's gonna show you the ASCII value 00001. The letter A is gonna come up because that's what that ASCII value showing on the disk. You're gonna show it from the CNA. It's gonna go through the Cat 5, Cat 6. It's gonna hit the router. You're gonna see it go to the router, right, with the lights. You're gonna see it go to the bare metal. Shout out to Tam. go to the bare metal, right? And I think that's the stuff that you can teach people, right? And that's in the metaverse. And I think you can have some of the top people. And the other part too is I think you can teach people at different levels, right? The metaverse knows where you at, so it can give you lesson 3 because you're ready. Somebody else can be on lesson 2. Then the teacher can work on you individually because the metaverse is actually teaching you what you need to learn. And the teacher is, if you lost or you're confused what that is, can virtually work with individual people, right? And really what you want to get to, right, and it's futuristic is you click something and you have your own virtual teacher as a hologram, understanding how you learn, understanding what you're missing, and pointing those things out for you where you really don't even need a teacher, right? It's like, oh, you doing this AWS, you spinning up this, like I was struck, you spinning up this 3-tier application, you got a load balancer and auto scaling. Oh, you forgot to connect your auto scaling to the load balancer, right? You missed this right here, right? And it highlights it for you, right? Then it kind of gives you another little sub thing to read and kind of nails it down for you, right? That's where education needs to get to, right? But I think before it gets there, you're going to be prematurely put in online learning, right? If you can't afford, once again, your tax base for the school, because with I won't get too political. Betsy DeVos, right, was over education. She's a billionaire. She just wanted to be over it, right? I don't know if she had the heart of the students in line. She was doing some other schools, right? We could debate if charter schools are good or public schools are good, right? But we need to figure that out, right? And I think tech needs to be part of that, and tech needs to be a curriculum of that. Even in middle school and high school, tech is so big, we need to get a tech portion of that and move on, right? Black House like me, go on to your community college. Shout out to Ivy Tech, we showing, and then go ahead and get your degree. Once again, if you want to do certs, Tech G was in the house, go to that. Then boot camps, right? I'm a little leery of boot camps. I think Black Heights was talking about doing a program of boot camps. I'm a little leery of boot camps, but I know Black Heights did his research. He's top of the line research. So I worry that we make sure, shout out to JM, that we get that research done and what we need to look for. But and I think, once again, training in the metaverse, I think, is the future. I think we need to do tech more like an apprenticeship, right? And I always call boot camps a small apprenticeship. But once you do the boot camp, who do you can hook up with that does that for real in real life, right? So you can do real projects, so you can get a real job and make real money. Hopefully, real job 6 figures, right? You could be part of in the top 15% of the people in the United States, right? Hell, you might need more than that now with inflation, right? So that's kind of my thought, kind of the part of the future is. And me and Black Heights was chopping it up is, what do I think of the future and what do you need to get there? In tech, we know what it is: machine learning, artificial intelligence, cloud, programming, Scala. There's some great programming languages that are hot. I'm trying to think of one that Tam said is on the chip. It's escaping my mind. But if you look, you can always tell you these are the 10 hot jobs. And two, as I tell people, tech guys struggle with communication. You could be a project manager, product owner, uh, business analyst. There's a lot of non-tech jobs that you can be in tech, right? I worked at a large tech agency. They had a whole project management office, right, where they had PMs on every project. Why? A lot of IT people have problems, like we just talked about, communicating, right? We got to work on our communication skills and make that work. Shout out to Black Heights. He had a couple videos on project management and non-technical jobs and technical fields. So definitely go check him out. So that's kind of it from kind of start to finish on my thoughts. Let me drop the link. Well, of education in the future. And two is the cool thing is we get to vote on it. You get to get in your local school district. You get to work with the kids in your family. You get to push people into things you want them to go in. You get to promote things of what you think is the future. I just see IT, and we can look out there. There's I think was it 80,000 cybersecurity jobs are unfilled. It was some crazy number like that. I think it was 30,000 programming jobs out there. So there's a lot of unfilled jobs, right? So there's two problems with that is we got to get people trained, and certain people they look for blueprints, right? When they look for stuff, right? We want Mark Zuckerberg, a young white guy who dropped out of Harvard, who's got this product he tried to sell. I'm like, dude, there's only a couple hundred of those, right? So how can we get people with the right skills in the right job? And the cool thing is I've never worked in Silicon Valley, and I've always made six figures. We always stuck on you got to go to banks pay well, and Black Heights always does that. Walmart IT plays well. There's a lot of companies that have big IT departments that you would never guess, and they pay super well. So it doesn't have to be just the fame. That's one thing with IT; it's embedded in every company. And I tell people another quick gem is most state companies have a huge IT department. They're underpaid because the state can't afford to pay them. The problem though is the good part is they have some of the best technology on the planet. So after 3 years, those guys dip and they double their salary. I see that all the time, right? Because you can't afford to keep them. But what happens is they train them, right? So where I was at, there was the Cisco, Oracle, Rack, Archer. I mean, they got big companies and states and local. They have some of the best technology because they get a discount. But once you get trained on there, you can dip and make a couple years of your life. You can realistically double your salary. And those places are easy to get in because most people, oh, I don't want to make that amount of money. I'm like, dude, it's only that amount of money for 2 years, and you can really get out and get it. So there's so many ways to get it, but that's definitely one way to get it. So two is, and I wouldn't let the layoffs worry you in IT. Once again, that's a few of the. If you look at it, most of the FANG and big companies because they overhired. Me and Black Heights had that conversation. I think they did it on purpose. Why is they want to make sure they didn't miss any opportunities. But in fact, they knew at a point they were going to lay those people off. The reason why is I want to cherry pick the best people when I laid off. And two is if you're in business, there's a lot of funny accounting when you talk about layoffs and write-offs, right? So most of that money they're going to get back. So once again, why would I do that? Because when I get all those people inside my company, I can see who's grinding. I can see who's technically savvy. I can see who's a SME in this, and I can see who's not working. I can see who's slacking, and I'm gonna lay all those people out, and I can just keep the top performers, pay them a little more, and we're gonna keep rolling, right? Because me and Black Heights, GE used to do that. GE used to fire the bottom 10% every year, right? They used to just say rank them. Why? Because you want the top talent and the top people on your staff, right? And that's one reason. That's one way to do it. It sucks if you're the individual getting cut, right? But companies do that because acquiring talent, especially top talent, is hard. So if I have to spend a little extra money and lay people off to figure that out, that's easy. That's easy for money, and I they obviously they'd do that in a heartbeat, right? So get right, train to dip. Yeah, facts. That's really it, right? And a lot of times, 10 is most companies when you get hired on, you're not planning to stand for 30 years. So what are you planning to get from this company? What are you planning to learn? What technologies hot and what areas are you trying to get to? Right, because they have a plan for you. You got to make a certain amount as a FTV, certain amount of profits, or they're going to fire you, right? So what's your ask on the other side, right? Now, when you're young, it's like I need to get some technology experience. Cool, I need to get in the door and I need a little tech. But as you get older, it's like, nah, what is the technology I'm getting? What piece of the cloud am I getting? What database are they using? Is this React hot? Is this Angular hot? Or they using old technology that's going to be obsolete, right? So as you move up the line, like I said, they're interviewing you, you need to interview them. I usually don't interview a company. I'm usually looking at certain technologies. I'm going there because they got X. I could use X, right? I could move with X, right? Or I need this skill set in my career so I can go to the next level. All right. I've been doing compliance. I think I might go to the cloud. So I need to get cloud skills so I could go to the next level, right? So I think that's how people need to be thinking. Once again, put anything in the chat. Shout out to Black Heights for the $50 super chat. I'm gonna be eating brisket this week. Shout out to Gabe for the 10. So PBO gonna be eating good briskets this weekend. Shout out to the bros. PBO need to go on diet on 2023, but he gonna eat brisket this weekend. Shout out to that. But like I'm gonna hang around for a few minutes. So I'm like, oh my god, it's 11:30. I gotta work in the morning. But nah, I'm calling this PBO at night. So I think these are stuff I'm gonna start doing on Tuesday. So I like to come on a little later. I know where a lot of people are on different coasts where it's a little earlier. Mine is like, oh, it's 11:30. But once again, I think education as a whole, we just got to figure out what works for us. Once again, you got the degrees, certs, boot camp. Check out Black Heights. He's got his career development. I actually thought about getting in tech sales. I help tech sales a lot. And when I be seeing their percentages on the sale, I'll be like, I helped. I need some of that percent on there. But those three, figure out which works for you. And two, it's not one size fit all. You can mix and match. You can get you can associate, then dip off on the certification. What's up, man?
Oh, what's good? What's good, man? What's good? How you doing?
I'm doing all right.
I'm good.
I appreciate the stream yesterday, man. I really enjoyed it, man.
Oh, you're welcome. You're welcome. Hold on, let me mute myself. I think I'm having my feet. Let me check.
Yeah, you got a little mute going on.
I see now. Let me mute that. Got it. So, more IT, and looks like they're giving some money out too, from what I'm seeing here. I've been listening on and off, and the education system's like they're gonna really give Americans the money and hope not put them in certain debt to learn tech skills, IT, and any other endeavors. Is that what?
I think so, but I worry kind of like Jam. I think a lot of times they don't prepare them enough so they be successful. So you can give people money, but if you're not preparing them, they just gonna get washed out, man. So that's the part I worry about because boot camps are super hot, but if you're not prepared because they're gonna immerse you with so much stuff, then most people got a full life on top of that, man. So sometimes I worry that we're not using the money effectively. So and I used to work once again. I taught for 10 years, so I used to make sure my veterans and my GIs were good because they would get that tech money, and I think they were over immersing them and they wasn't quite ready for it. So I just want to make sure. I think tech is great, but you got to be ready for it because once again, if you're not ready for it, you're just gonna waste the money.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not sure much more preparation needed for this, because one of the few things for anything, you gotta get understand the basics of coding. I mean, besides all
Okay.
else, I don't know if anybody's building anything nowadays besides the regular code. Go ahead, you saying something?
No, I agree with you. I just said, no, you facts. Keep going. I'm agreeing with you.
Yeah, because one time I tried dabble with 7 years ago with one dude, and I paid like $50 just to maybe learn just the basics of IT. Little tricks here and there, and it's not much, but it's worth something. Just to get understanding before I knew about Udemy or the online class where you pay a little less. Not saying I was not afraid to pay a brother this money just to get it under, just to get a full glimpse with IT. Without going fully invested. You know, see if I could do this or what things to learn. Follow, watch videos, try to emulate. Basic stuff. So nothing wrong with that. I think more people should be, spending certain money anyway just to get their feet wet and see where it goes.
No, I agree with that. And I think a lot of people, shout out to 40 Billions in there, Tech G was in there. A lot of people doing courses now on YouTube and taking them to Udemy and starting their own sites, I think are pretty good. And those few of those people I definitely trust. So I think people are definitely, taking it to the next level.
Yeah. So when people get discouraged, I mean, I,
No.
it bothers me how things are moving now, and I mean, in somewhat in the of it, the tech field, somewhat not like that, but in some form of technology,
Hmm.
and I could have maybe dealt with a different path or career or path of trying to be productive, but like I said, it's a catch-22 nowadays. One day you say, one day we'll do this, or I say we might try to get into this type of field. Next day, something has to be something different. Rather people say, I don't like it, maybe try something else. Well, if we don't like it, then what else you feel that is necessity just to get by? Just be living, because you have to pay certain bills and stuff. So what else besides if you get in? Oh, how about I say this? Without getting to take field, what else people have? What avenues people gonna be taking? Let's be honest. We can't do these regular wage jobs. Hell, we can't even do certain, I guess, degrees that really truly is really useless. Now that everything's moving more digital,
Hmm.
people going to make some real conscious decision. I mean, and think real hard. I think youth that is now graduating now for the last 2 3 years, ones that was born in the 2000s, they the future for them is a little more clear than people that's already been out of the schooling thing for more than 10 years, in my opinion.
Oh, I agree. I agree with that.
Because and I remember one particular content creator had this conversation with a few ladies, and they were just about to soon finish high school or already finished high school already. Who knows? And tell them how much they need to live, how much money, and tell them this is no longer 6 figures is no longer useful now. You might have to be 7 figures or above. And I'm thinking, where are you gonna get all this money from? Because capitalist system. No,
No.
and here's my thing: we as black people, black men especially, we already know they're making it much harder. Not saying it's no excuse, but as because we're not involved in certain political things and we're not really doing what's necessary as men working together just to deal with the so-called simple systematic issues, that we're digging a deeper ditch to really come out of. And this rugged individual mindset these dudes are talking about, that's not gonna cut it. I'm sorry. It ain't gonna cut it. While you trying to make buddies with people that's not part of your culture race, they're making moves in their own people, and they are knowing what to do, and they're actually more secure than us.
No, that's true. There's some validity into that. Let me read
Yeah.
this real quick. Let me read this real quick.
But
Jay, I'm talking about the boot camp. Some of the people at my boot camp didn't have any IT experience since the boot camp advertised you don't need to know any, and and that they will show you everything, but it was a lie. Yeah, that's my thing is we got to help them with a primer for the boot camp. Then one more thing, I have been studying IT for 2 years and still fail. there was a guy who has all the CompTIA certs and also yeah. When you go to those programming boot camps, man, it's a different game. And like I said, I programmed for 15 years, and programming is a different animal, especially when you're talking about full stack. So when I see those boot camps, Jam, I'm always a little skeptical about that. That's why that's kind of the last three of my of my blueprint. I'm usually degree certs in that boot camp. I think you need a couple of the first two before you maybe do the third one. But now go ahead, Chaos Rain. But no,
Yeah, I mean, I feel it. I feel it. If you're failing more than once, my only suggestion to people that's failing, and how much more you're throwing into this, always gotta keep in mind that you always want to know what you're good at, so that way, what you're going to fail and try something else. I mean, I'm not saying you could try a third time, but you want it, depending on how much time you invest in the years you spent on this now, that you want to get in yourself in a position where you eliminate the failure to find some form of success. Now, once you get your foot in the door that you certify in something and you get your feet wet, maybe you could try it again. But you don't want to be stuck on something failing more than once. And especially if you're a person that you have time to waste on it, then do so. But if not, you might have to try dabble something else.
no, so I think JM did move on to something else. He was talking about when he first took the boot camp. So I think he pivoted into something else. So for that particular one. But like you said though, and two, as I always tell people, IT is so broad too, is if you're not a great programmer, most guys go networking, programming, project management, detail organization. There's just so many avenues in IT. You just got to kind of find the one that works for you and fits for you and just keep on that grind.
Yeah, gotta keep grinding, man. I mean, nothing's really perfect personally. And like I said, failure is always a good thing, and to a degree, in my opinion, to a degree. After a while, when you fail, you always gotta reevaluate. It's something that you're not really understanding, or I mean, because let's be honest. Because I think with these IT tests, is it mostly multiple choice, long question? What are these things?
Most of my multiple choice, they're actually going more to labbing for exercises. Boot camps, they're labbing because they give you these projects to finish. So it just kind of depends on the certain which one you're trying to do.
Oh, so it's no longer multiple choice. They got to actually see you try to perform something, see if you're able to do it.
Yeah, they start doing that a little more because people were passing search and actually couldn't do the job when they went out there. So they had to start trying to put a few labs in there.
Yeah, that's gonna be challenging.
So they're kind of freeing it up a little bit. That's why you kind of need search, and they still want you to have a few years of experience to go with your certs, right? They want you to have degrees of certs and a couple years experience. But then you're like, where the hell am I gonna get the experience if you don't give me a job, right? We back
and that's the problem. You're not getting jobs. How the hell you gonna experience? You know, I think when they do this, it's like they're playing games with people. You know what I'm saying? Hey, this is just me.
No, I think they are the search. They're just not thinking it through. They're thinking it through. But what they're saying is, and a lot of companies, they're saying we don't want to train you, right? Because when you bring junior people, you got to train them. Then 9 times out of 10, they're going to leave, right? So they're saying we don't want to pay the expense of training you. You need to come and train. But then, like we said, then how do we get trained and get that one? So my thing is, and I've been throwing it out to the tech guys is, we've been in this industry enough where we can come up with labs and examples and projects that we could do on YouTube that can teach you those type of skills. Because I've done data warehousing, B2Bs, data engineer with pipelines and data lakes and warehouses, and engineering cannabis does machine learning and artificial. So it's enough guys out here where we can come up with a project to get you real world experience so you can show a portfolio to an employer. But from a employer standpoint, I understand, like, dude, we ain't training for you to leave in 2 years, right? So that's the catch 2020 from their standpoint.
I see. Yeah, so people getting it, but they dropping out because it got too difficult, don't it?
Yeah, too difficult. Or I work for an employer. It was large, and we talked about it. Is we hired junior people. The state can't pay, so after 2 years they leave because they can go make so much more money. But you as an employer, you're like, well, I just really got him ready. He can work now. He leaving. So you got to build that into your hiring, right? And do you want to do that?
I see. Wow. You're right. You're right. I mean, shit. Citizens.
So yeah, so we was talking about that. So, but I'm about to wrap it up, Chaos. I'm glad
All right.
you came up, man.
Yeah, as came up, you know what I'm saying, give some support, you know. And
Was that a YouTube channel you put us on yesterday? Or was that something else?
Which one? The one that the interview?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's on another channel. I'm probably gonna upload it next week, I believe.
Just send me an email and I'll share it out to my guys so they can see it.
Yeah, I just gotta have formally ready, and I will email you once the day it's gonna broadcast.
That's cool. That's perfect.
All right, I'm gonna jump down. We'll talk later. Thank you, everybody.
I appreciate it. No problem. What's up, First Gen? You just missed it. You're gonna have to catch out the replay. Shout out to Gabe and Black Heights. They contributed to the barbecue for Sunday. Once again, I'll be eating brisket. Shout out to the brisket. I think I'm gonna start doing a PBR at night. We're gonna just start talking about regular stuff like this. I'm glad people came through and checked me out. Once again, we need to figure out what we're gonna do for the middle schoolers. Everybody except casualty economists. Shout out to him. I don't know why that cheers me up. Hump days tomorrow. Let's get it. Everybody have a great weekend and holiday month. Let's get ready really for 2023. Everybody have a nice night.